So you keep telling yourself that you're a failure. Well, by doing this, you're going to believe that you are. And I myself, I've told myself that I have been a failure a couple times in my life, and it hasn't worked out. So I'm telling you right now, stop it. Stop calling yourself a failure. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. Now, my name is Marcus. This is Discover Ignite, where we discover possibilities and ignite change. And here I like to talk about things that help you grow, techniques, strategies, whatever I can get my hands on that I've found, that I've personally dealt with, that I can help you guys. So if that's something you sounds interesting to you, remember to subscribe and remember to like this video if you do enjoy it. Now let's talk about this failure. Why do you feel like a failure? Maybe perhaps somebody is telling you that you're not going to achieve or amount to be anything in life, right? Now, by hearing this, right, by being around these people, especially if they're people that you love, right, people that you enjoy being around, and they're telling you this thing, you start believing in it. When the truth is, a lot of people say things because of their state of mind, with the way they interpret their lives, and they compare it to yours. And, we're not perfect people. And to think that some person out there, maybe that you see on social media, you see in the movies, or all these other different people, maybe you think that they're perfect, right? They're ideal, they never have any flaws, when in fact, there are many flaws. We all have different flaws, right? We all have strengths, we all have weaknesses, but the biggest thing is to realize that, this talk that you're telling yourself that you're a failure. Who is telling you you're a failure? Maybe someone is telling you. Maybe that person, right? You need to tell that person straight up front and personal, right? Sit them down. So be like, I failed, but I don't need you to keep telling me, right? You need to be honest with that person. I don't need you to keep telling me that I'm a failure. I'm not a failure. If that person says, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, discourage you in any way, but that's great. But if you're going to continue to tell me that I'm a failure, this relationship, whatever it is, right? It could be your brother or sister, whatever. You're like, I'm done with this relationship if that's the way it's going to be, because yeah, I'm going to fail, and I'm going to fail a lot, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And there might be a good reason why you may feel like you're a failure. Maybe a lot of times you've tried many different things and you fail, but you have to understand that this is a good thing, right? You have to get in that mindset that there's a reason why you are failing, right? You're the person that's going out there attempting to make something better of your life. That doesn't mean you're a failure at all. How many people out there are actually trying, or not even trying, right? They're quicker to just tell you why that's not gonna work. Have they ever tried it? No, they haven't, right? A good majority of people have not even tried it. So you are one step above, and I give you a lot of credit for just going out and trying it, because ultimately a lot of people won't even try, right? People don't want to be there for people to smirk or comment about why, I knew it wasn't going to work, but yet you went and tried it. Well, I tried it. When have you tried it, right? And so that's ultimately it, is to get these thoughts, these ideas out that, people maybe tell you something, but you still have to realize that you're the one going out there, and it can be scary, right? You're going against a lot of things. A lot of times when you're doing these things, you fail, but you have to remember that maybe it's the first time you've ever done it. Maybe it's the second, third, fourth, maybe even the 10th time, 50th time. What does it matter? You're still trying. You're trying to do something with your life, right? And that's ultimately what matters, is the fact that you are trying to better your life, and failure is a part of that, right? Failure is part of the result along the journey to get to whatever it is, the destination that you're trying to reach. And realize that failure is a good thing, right? Now, you can fail, 500 different times, right? But the biggest thing is to understand that it is a failure. As long as you're trying to learn from that failure and keep pressing forward, right? Maybe you fail at something and you feel like it's not really something you want to do, then that's fine, right? As long as you continue to try to improve your life in some way, shape, or form, what does it matter if you pick something else up, right? Just as long as you're not exchanging hands too many times, right? And find that one thing. If you really enjoy that thing, then just continue pressing, right? And you'll realize that eventually over time you'll get better, right? With every failure comes the opportunity to learn, to get better. That's ultimately what it is. So don't call yourself a failure. You're only a failure unless you give up, right? That's not trying something, yeah, I don't like it, okay, then move on. I don't consider that a failure. I consider a failure is I really love doing this and I can't wrap my head around it. And it's at that point when you fail, right, and you want to give up, that will be considered, in my mind, a failure, right? The fact that you're going to give up on something that you love. Why give up on something that you love? Keep pressing forward. Yes, you might fail 5,000 different times, but to just wipe it clean and then just say, well, I guess it's not for me. Well, if you love it, continue pursuing it. You will get there, right? Some people are quicker to adapt, some people aren't. You just have to figure out, the type of person that you are, right? Even if you are really good at something and you do love whatever it is, you're still gonna have failures, right? And you have to realize that we all also, have weak moments in our life. This is something we have to be aware of, right? Now, people want to say, oh, you're disciplined, and if you're disciplined, you never make mistakes. Yes, disciplined people still make mistakes, right? It's just majority of the time, you are the disciplined individual, right? That's ultimately what you have to remember, is majority of the time. It doesn't have to mean 100 out of 100, right? It's just not going to happen, right? Even the most disciplined people will still eventually have those days in which they aren't 100% disciplined, right? And you can't live that way, right? You can't live in a world that you think everything is perfect, because nothing is perfect, and there will be mess ups. There will be times where you'll be pulled other different directions, and maybe you are trying to do something to improve your life, and then you skip that one day, right? Maybe you've been trying to improve your life and go to the gym and eat healthy, and you missed one day because work went over and you jumped on the road, and the road, right, you got stuck in traffic for like 2 hours, and you're like, hey, man, just nothing is working out today. And so you don't go to the gym, and so you feel like a failure, and you feel like that one little thing, as soon as that idea, that thought starts, going around in your head, then you start wondering, well, why should I go, right? And then you start questioning every little thing that you're doing, when instead it was just a day, it was a moment, it passed. Yes, there's one day, no big deal. You were not a failure. That doesn't essentially mark everything else as a failure. You just need to move on, right? Take the new day. It's a new day, okay? We're gonna go back on track, we're gonna get back in routine, we're gonna start doing all these things, right? It's when you give up on yourself, not for anybody else, because if you're doing it for something else, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Essentially also why you shouldn't be listening to anybody else, right? It should all come to yourself, right? You're trying to be better for yourself. You are essentially doing this for yourself, right? You're doing it to show respect to yourself, right? That's the biggest thing here, is to understand that whatever you're trying to do is to improve yourself. And so don't think of anything as a failure, right? Don't ever talk to yourself in that light, because you do this and it becomes a vicious cycle in which you believe this thought that essentially is rattling around in your dome, right? That you are a failure. And then you essentially don't want to start trying anything. You start losing motivation. You start doing all these other little things because you told yourself that lie, right? That is what I believe it is. It's a lie. You haven't given up. You're debating, right? And you have to, again, realize that a lot of times we're not again perfect. So don't think that that one mistake is going to be the rest of your life, right? Now, I don't ever believe, we all, again, have weak points. Just move on. Continue to move on, take it a day at a time, and improve yourself where you can, right? And have to expect things won't always come overnight. And I think that's another big thing we get tailed into, is that we expect results quick. And when we don't get the quick results, then we figure that this makes us a failure, when in fact we're not. We have to realize that some things take a lot longer than others, and not assume that after a month or 2 months. And typically when we get to the position that we're in, that we want to make a change, we forget how much time it took us to get into that position, right? Now, some things take a long time, like bad health, right, is a big one, right? A lot of times it takes many years to get to that state in which we're like, man, I should probably start doing something about my health because my health is getting bad, right? At that point, we forget that it took us many years to get to that point. and that it will take time to get us out of that point, right? Maybe not nearly as much time as it took us to get into that point, but it will still take time. And so you can't consider yourself a failure. You have to move on and make things, it is what it is, right? That's the biggest thing. The biggest mentality to have is to think that it is what it is. It's not good, it's not bad. If it works, it works. It's something I love. It's just as long as you don't give up on that thing and continue to get better, continue to refine whatever it is that you're trying to do, and learn from your mistakes, and reach out and research, and find people to help you, right? And to just realize you need to really stop with the negative talk, because that negative talk will take you down, and you start believing all this stuff that's not true about you at all. So again, remember, if you did enjoy this video, to hit that like button on the way out, and until next time, I will see you guys later.